Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Alhaganawa Yahweh Achad Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Alhaganawa Yahweh Achad Shema Yasharallah Yahweh Alhaganawa Yahweh Achad Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahweh Shai, Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahweh Shai, Barakat Yahweh, Barakat Yahweh Shai, Bahashar Kudash. I also want to give double honors to our elder apostles and elder bishops who do rule well, who are ruling well. All right. I also want to say peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. All right. I'm Zahab, Spirit Wind Judah. And today I want to go into a live stream entitled A Man. As it says in the scriptures, remember this and show yourselves men. All right. What is a man? And I've done a lesson with this title before, but I want to revisit this title, revisit this lesson, all right, with new things in my spirit. All right. All through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bahashim Hawashai. So speaking of power, all right, man is associated with power. You look up man in the Merriam's dictionary, and one of the definitions that's more suitable for this title, all right, is a human male associated with strength. So as men, all right, we are genetically designed for strength. All right, you usually associate masculinity with being strong. So you have mental strength, spiritual strength, physical strength, emotional strength, all right? But typically it's expected a man, all right, to be strong. If a man is weak, all right, if a man is emotionally weak, like you got the movie Godfather, all right, one of the characters say he got slapped, he said you could act like a man. So, and you know, it tells you in the book of Proverbs that the beauty of youth is their strength. The beauty of young men is their strength. All right. Now, some men are stronger than others. You have to remember that we are yet this day in our captivity, but typically men are associated with strength. Most jobs, most skills that's conducive for the continuance of civilization is ran by men, such as construction, such as carpentry or sanitation. You know, most of those jobs require strength. All right, even in 2023 going into 2024. Okay, but what is a man? Let's go a little deeper than that. So I wanted to get a few scriptures on the comment board. I don't know if I have any brothers that have access, but if you do, all right, I'm assuming maybe there's one or two brothers. All right, if you could get Genesis 4:17, all right, as well as Genesis 10:11, and finally Genesis 9:20. All right, because there are things that's shown in the scriptures, all right, how men moved, all right, that you don't see now because we're in another man's rulership. See, one thing that's been attacked specifically with the 12 tribes is that we don't tap into our masculinity. And through Yahweh Bahashim Shai, you tap into your masculinity. You don't tap into a serving class mentality. You tap into a ruling class mentality. Going back to the sequel to Godfather, and forgive me because I forget the characters' names at this point, but I think the main character was Don Corleone. All right, at the Waterford brother putting the scriptures up. All right, but one thing they wanted to do was, I think, kill that young boy because they knew that he was going to grow up, and he was going to grow up and want that power. See, the nature of a real man is the pursuit of power. I read years ago that testosterone is associated with the pursuit of power, and men who pursue power have higher testosterone. Once again, this is something that I read over a decade ago. Okay. All right. So let's tap into it. All right. And this is going into men in their place in the planet Earth, and the water Akyam, the water. Okay, so this is I'm grabbing the first brother scripture. All right, to compass with fear, to worry about fun. All right, it says Genesis 4:17, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. Wait a minute, where did Cain find a wife? You see, because there was already people. Genesis 5, male and female created to him. All right, called their name Adam. All right, but because these were the sons of Adam, the Adamites. All right, Genesis 4:17, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch, and he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. But the point is that Cain built a city. Now, of course, he didn't do it by himself. Well, you can speculate that he had men help him, you see, but Cain built a city. You see, and this is before the flood. You see how men moved? A man. What is a man? And this is not going into his morals or the lack thereof, but this clue is the scripture is evidence that men engineered civilizations. All right, men engineered. So we have the capacity as men to build civilizations, because a city is basically a civilization. So the Most High already wired men to have that capacity to build. It's not just our oppressor who has the capacity to build. We have the capacity to build. Now you see why? That's why Esau put women over us, man. It's like cutting off your testicles and your intelligence. All right? Let me read that again. Genesis 4:17. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he built a city and called the name of the city after the names of his son Enoch. It says, let's go. All right. And let's go to Genesis 10:11. All right. And it says, out of that land went forth Asher, all right, and built Nineveh and the city of Rehoboth and Calah. Wait a minute. It said out of that land went forth Asher, all right. And I believe that's the father of the Assyrians, all right, and builded Nineveh. Wait a minute. That's a city. He builded Nineveh and the city of Rehoboth, all right. I'm sorry, Rehoboth and Calah. Okay. And it says, and resting between Nineveh and Calah, the same as a great city. So Most High put the spirit on these men, which are the patriarchs of these nations that you see today, all right, to build cities. All right. So if you think about, if you use your imagination and your mind, and you take away the current power structures that run the earth, and you just look at the earth in its pristine state, its natural state, trees, waters, lakes. All right. When the Most High placed man in this earth, all right, what did he give us the ability to do? He gave us the ability to extract from the land and to build. So first and foremost, a man is a builder. A man is a builder. All right. I think I had called. Let me see. Okay, Genesis 10. All right, let me see. We got Genesis 9:20. Here we go. So the first thing that men can do is build. You have to remember Noah, all right, and his 3 sons and their wives, they all got off their ark, right? They all got off their ark, and they had to inhabit, all right? So the water resided, and they had to inhabit the land, all right? They had to literally rebuild civilization through themselves and their sons, all right? And wives, of course, that's the, incubators, all right? That's the nourishers, all right? But so we have men who build cities. Now let's go into it further, or to more in depth, all right? To, cultivating that city and creating existence within that city, cultivating life within that city, because the Most High used remnants of animals. What's that? Two of the unclean and seven of the clean, to really recreate existence in the earth. All right, and also Noah and his sons. But this is Genesis 20. I'm sorry, Genesis 9 and 20. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. Noah began to be a husbandman. All right, now I'm gonna go into one element of that word husbandman. All right, for this particular scripture. All right, if you go into the etymology of the word husbandman, all right, the second component of that word, band, goes back to bond, which goes back to grow. Ultimately, it goes back to grow. And also goes back to dwell, or it goes back to bond. But for this particular scripture, I'm going to use the final definition, which goes back to grow. So men till the land, then they grow the land. You see? Men till the land, then they grow. Let's go back to it. Genesis 9 and 20. And Noah began to be a husbandman, and he planted a vineyard. All right. So let's just think about it. And the Most High said it like it was nothing. Noah planted a vineyard. So we know that it was common for a man to build a vineyard, which is basically a garden for grapes. And you take those grapes and you create wine. You make wine. Because it goes on to say that he drank and he became drunk. And prophecy had to be fulfilled and stuff. But the point was that he planted a vineyard. So you as a man, see, I'm from the South. And although I didn't grow up in the rural areas of the South, my family did. And I got kinfolk, as they call it, that can grow a fucking garden. And I know y'all got them too. They could grow a garden. They could build a shed or a house. They grow cotton. You see? Man, my voice is loud. They grow cotton. All right. They could build a patio. And I low-key envy that, I guess, and it's with a sense of levity, but I low-key envy that, like, damn, I just grew up playing basketball, rapping, you know what I mean? Putting emphasis on clothes. I got a cousin my age. He's still in the rural areas, and he moved like he in the ancient world. And he actually had the opportunity to travel the world because who his dad is, as far as making moves, he was like, nah, I want to stay in the country. But it just, now that I'm doing this live stream, that, I'm like, man, he moved like our forefathers. Once again, my cousin, he could build a patio, and he drinks, but he could build a patio, build a garden. He's showing me pictures of it. This is the same cousin we grew up together, man, when we would see each other doing like reunions and stuff. Okay. But so is it a man, a real man, a man in this element? I put it that way. A man in this element extracts from the earth and builds. So that's what it really means when you're a husband. Because the purpose of me doing this live stream is to band together the woman's role and the man's role to help us get an understanding of our nation and the purpose of our nation and the purpose of a woman, because we have so many distractions. For example, a woman, all right, she has the matrix too. We just can't act like, you're just willingly evil. But women were given false standards or toxic standards for men. Their height, which that's a natural attraction, but what he's working with sexually and his skin color and his hairstyle. Y'all know what I mean, because most of us grew up in the hood or the urban cities or has been in Babylon. You have these toxic standards that's not conducive to building anything. The toxic standards that's not conducive to building anything. Man. So let's go back to it. A husband, now if you look up the word husband in the etymology, it's a component, it composed of two elements, two components. All right, hus is actually short for house. It actually goes back to hus and husband, goes back to house. band goes back to bond. So it's someone who, you could say, holds a house together. All right, which is synonymous with like a lord, because a lord is what, a breadwinner. All right, lord goes back to loaf in the etymology, at least. Okay, so a husband is a house dweller or a householder. He bonds their house together. But in this etymology, bond goes back to grow, and the husband goes back to the tiller of land. That's why I said Noah became a husbandman. All right, and he planted a vineyard. Okay, so when we read the scriptures, all right, and we read it, and we think, okay, there's desolation, and there's probably like a tent, then there's a vineyard. But civilization had to get rebuilt. You see? Civilization had to get rebuilt. You see? Because out of Noah, he gave birth to those three patriarchs, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. And they gave birth to basically the new world. You have to remember, Abraham came out of Shem, but his forefathers came out of Babylon, and you know, there were the 5 cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. So where did the mechanisms for civilization come from? Came from Noah, because he had that surviving knowledge. Well, that's a little deeper. I want to keep it plain right now, because you know, men, going back to Adam, all right, going back to Shem, we wasn't just on some primitive stuff in the garden. The garden is not, I mean, a garden is like we call it the garden. It's really a metaphor for paradise, but it was an advanced civilization. Because where did the knowledge to build Babylon and where did the knowledge to build Egypt come from? It really came from Adam. It really came from the sons of God. But let's go back to the topic. So going back to Cain. Cain had the ability to build cities. Going back to Asher, he had the ability to build cities. Cities that we read about today, the Assyrians, and in that same area, you know. All right, they had the ability to build cities. Okay? So going back to Genesis, Cain built cities. Going back to Genesis 10, how Asher built Nineveh and Rehoboth and Calah. Then going back to Genesis 9, Noah became a husbandman, which basically is a farmer, for lack of better words. And a farmer is a very noble title. And it's very necessary occupation. Because when there's no farmer, there's no civilization. All right. Now we're going into Sirach, the 38th chapter, where it tells you how the farmer, he guided the oxen to push them, to till the land, which is to break the soil. All right. It goes into, and these are one of my favorite breakdowns. It goes into, I think it goes into the carpenter, but I know it goes into the blacksmith. So then there would be like a welder, okay, who takes their iron and melts it down. All right, goes into the potter. See, today we don't look at a powder like that's something significant. Today, like if you buy pottery, that is like an amenity to your house, like little ornaments made out of pottery. But you have to remember, back then we didn't have paper cups and styrofoam. We had to get it straight out the earth. So, but it also goes on to say, without these, should not a city be inhabited. You see how it's important to raise your sons, especially in the ancient world, to have skill. Even in today's time, it's important to have skill. All right, because you have apprenticeship, and you'll raise your son to be a carpenter. You'll raise your son to be a potter, a blacksmith, a farmer. But hey, you might have 5 sons, all right, and through their different occupations, they can engineer, all right, they can engineer a habitation, they can engineer a town. You see, that's power. Who has an example of that right now? Who's an example of that? The Amish. You see, the Amish, I looked up like their occupations. They go into welding, And this is like, I think after the 8th grade, they go into their apprenticeship. Was that something that should be done here? But, you know, we're not here to build. It says we has no continuing dwelling city. But the Amish, the men, because we're going into the men now. All right, the men, they go into welding, carpentry, all right, farming. But look at them. They don't need the power structure. They don't need the grid to survive. Everything I named goes into utilizing the earth. And it's a very strict, they have a very strict way of life from the viewpoint of the first world. But also, it allows them to not depend on the first world. Okay? So what is a man? A man ultimately is a builder, because the first thing that a man did was fucking build. Excuse my language. But the first thing that men did was build. Men are builders. We're builders and we're growers. Men are developers. You could take that on a physical level or a financial level. We're developers. And the scripture says to edify one another. Edify one another. What does edify mean? To build. You build a brother up. A brother might be spiritually weak, emotionally weak. You build him up with the scriptures. Wait a minute. Somebody get, what's that, 1 Corinthians 3? All right. Where it says that you are the house of the Most High. And it goes into I planted, Apollos watered, and Yahweh give the increase. That whole chapter, it's a spiritual house. Why did the Most High use the house as an analogy? All right, for building up the church up, man. Because the foundation to building, or the foundation to this truth is likened to building. The Most High used 2 analogies: building, all right, a house, the house of Yahweh, and also forming land. All right, I planted, Apollo watered, but Yahweh give the increase. We were planted in a Yahweh side by the apostles. Then by us being rooted and grounded in the word, Yahweh gave the increase. You see? But that's a spiritual aspect of manhood. All right, the men build us, man. All right. Then Yahweh, he builds you as a man through your experiences. All right. The things you go through, it evolves you. That's how you go through evolutions, and evolutions of mindsets are through your experiences. The Apostle Paul said, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. You really become a man when you come into this truth. But part of also your manhood and your journey is your experiences. And that's what shifts your mindset and develops your mindset. You see the word develop? Because a man is a builder. He's a developer. He's a coach. Well, I go into that later, but a man is a developer. Now, what happens is when it comes to your situation with your woman, your union with your wife, which wife means servant, your helpmeet, your assistant, you may give her a game plan. You may show her something, but she'll run with it and nourish it. She'll run with it and cultivate it and enhance it. All right. Men build a house and women beautify that house. Men create systems, and he instructs his woman to run with their systems. All right. You see, we create programs. We create programs. We create languages. This is the reality of this thing, man. This is your mind, your so-called brain. It's a world in itself, and you can engineer worlds. You see, we've been in another man's house for so long that we lost our manhood. It tells you in the book of Sirach, and I'm roughly paraphrasing, better it is to be in a mean cottage than to live in another man's house. You see? And we know that our enemy is not going to sit here and watch us build in America. But you have to know what you are as a man. Part of us getting that confidence back is knowing what you're capable of. A lot of us, we're not capable of anything. And first and foremost, we're in the spirit, we're in the truth. But you still have to dwell on this earth, and you have to know who you are. Like they say, know thyself, man. All right? And you have to know what you're capable. Part of your confidence comes from overcoming challenges. That's another way to develop a man. Constantly put us through challenges, man. That's how you build a man. He goes through challenges. All right, but a man is supposed to be competent, which really goes back to capable, able. And that's where your confidence and being sure of yourself comes from, man. But the way you build yourself is through going through challenges, man. See, I know some sorry mutts, man. And I hate to say this, but it's true. There's just people in the world because they've been pampered by women, all right, and they never had the man to take over and dominate him and develop him. So you have these boys, and I don't even have to kind of point out individuals, just our nation got a bunch of sorry mutts, you know, because they've never been developed. All right, they've never been built up by other men. So by the time they're 18, they're useless. How could I forget this scripture where it tells you, and Babaka Shah, brother could put it up, if I have a slothful son who just a gluttoner and a drunkard. How could I forget that scripture? You see? And that shows you that in our nation, even if you have parents that mean well, sometimes you just might have a nigger. Even if you do have a father that's hard and stern, sometimes you might just give birth to a nigger. A foolish man. I think about JJ, you know, but worse. You know, those boys just don't take nothing serious. They just assholes, they rebels. Sometimes you're just gonna give birth to a rebel. And then we under the curses. So that's amplified. But so you got men, all right. You got men who, one second, Akim. You got men who, lost my train of thought. I had a phone call. You got men who've never been built up, and they're useless because they don't know how to. If you don't know how to build anything, even in this society, you don't know how to maintain income. You don't know how to maintain a so-called job. How can you join anything with a woman? If you don't know how to have some level of provision about you, if you don't have some level of stability, because you've never endured a job, you say you're an entrepreneur, you ain't did shit with it, you know? Sometimes you just want to have a successful business, but that means you probably got to go to the job or the gig economy. You ain't got no drive of stability about you, you know? How can you join anything with a woman? How can you be in that you're masculine? How can you have that frame about you? You know, if you're just going with the flow, you know, and it's easy to do. It's easy to have a woman and maybe you don't have a program about yourself. You just kind of go with the flow, but we got to push ourselves to have a program, a system, because what really, you're supposed to have a system of running your house, and she's supposed to know your system. You know, she assists in that system, man. All right? So we have to go back to that man mindset, man. Ruling your system. All right? Being kings, all right, priests, and guess what? We're under the curses. So we're going to have women that rebel, and you're going to have problems, and you know, I'm not a consultant. I can't tell you how to move with your family because, look, we all catching hell. But you got to ideally at least know in theory how we supposed to move, man. All right, let's go. Deuteronomy 21:10. And they shall say unto the elders of this city, this our son is a stubborn and rebellious, and he will not obey our voice. He is a glutton, and a drunkard. And verse 21, skipping to verse 21. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. So shalt thou put evil away from among you, and all Israel shall hear and fear. Beautiful. 1 Timothy 3:5. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of Yahweh Bahashem Yahushai? All right. Proverbs 13:13. Whoso despises the word shall be destroyed, but he that feareth the commandment shall be rewarded. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty much the point. Like, our nation had a zero tolerance for useless niggas, man, because our nation is like a vineyard. It's like a garden. And then a useless nigga is what? Like a weed in the garden. What do you do with weed? You weed that motherfucker out. All right. You pull it out. I mean, I'm no farmer, but I think that's how that works. You got like dead plants and stuff, you weed them out. I think they even call it with your hair, because your hair is real like a garden. All right. And you clip the dead ends. You know? Same thing with this truth. The spirit is on the apostles to find, look for Jake that's not really productive and they'll get clipped. Because that stunts the growth of the ecosystem. You see, your nation is like an ecosystem. You got these different occupations. Just how you have different animals, the bear, the gazelle, all right, the tiger, and they all work, in the sync with each other in the ecosystem. Your nation is like that, all right? And this truth is like that. You got, okay, this brother, the teacher, all right, this brother's good with edifying, this brother's good with prophesizing, but we all work together in the ecosystem. But if there's an animal not pulling his weight in the ecosystem, then that holds everybody back. You see? Same thing in a physical nation. If you got a son that's not fulfilling his duties, he's not getting out there and tilling the land, he bullshit on the carpentry job, man, he got to get stoned, man. In the ancient world, at least. All right? Matthew. Oh, okay. Con. Let me go. Matthew 7:17. Even so, every good tree bringeth forth good fruit, but a corrupt tree bringeth forth evil fruit. A good tree cannot bring forth evil fruit, neither can a corrupt tree bring forth good fruit. Verse 19, every tree that bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. And that's spiritually speaking. All right. That's how the Most High thinks towards the body. You have to be productive. All right. All right. Sirach 22:1. A slothful man is compared to a filthy stone, and everyone will hiss him out of his disgrace. A slothful man is compared to the filth of a dunghill, and every man that takes it up will shake his hand. All right. Hey, because in our culture, we got shame culture, man. You know what shame culture is? That we got systems to shame undesirable people. So if you're a slothful man, that's undesirable. It's like, that lazy ass sorry nigga. That's what a slothful man is in today's terms. Sorry nigga. That sorry motherfucker. Yeah, oh, her baby daddy sorry. Yeah, stuff like that. You know how they talk. We be on a job and that young Jake come in, they be bullshitting. He always disappearing. Us in the old school catch like, that boy don't never work. Yeah, they gonna fire him. Sorry motherfucker. But we have a shame culture, but that shame is good because you don't want to have that stigma over you, so you're not gonna be lazy. All right. There's a dark side to being a man, because a man, the positive side, a man produces. A man is productive. That's why we have energy. We have a drive. Masculine energy like the sun. We have more energy than women. We have more strength than women because we have to have strength to utilize the earth per our occupation to really build a habitation. All right. But I hope I made the point. Like, a man. What is a man? All right. A man is a builder, an engineer, a farmer, a husband, a house dweller. I'm sorry, not a house dweller. He holds the house together. He develops the house. He develops systems to run the house, to run a nation. That is a man. But with that, I hope you brothers and sisters were edified. With that, I want to give all honor and glory to Yahweh by some outside, by some Das, double honors to our elder apostles, elder bishops, great millstone well. Peace and blessings, health and wellness to the house of David the elect. Abba, Kum Yashala, Shalom.